The divorce papers hit the marble courthouse steps with a sharp slap, scattering in the Mediterranean breeze like my carefully constructed lies. 6 months ago, I thought I was so clever asking Julian for space. Now I'm standing here completely alone, watching my husband walk away, with our daughter's hand in his, while I hold a binder full of evidence that proves I'm the architect of my own destruction. The morning light filtered through our Barcelona apartment's tall windows as I rehearsed my speech one more time. Julian sat at the kitchen island, methodically eating his toast while reviewing engineering blueprints, his dark hair still damp from his shower. Our 6-year-old daughter Margo colored quietly at the counter, occasionally glancing between us with those perceptive brown eyes that missed nothing. "Julian, we need to talk," I said, pouring myself coffee with hands that trembled slightly. The message from Nico still glowed on my phone screen. "Can't wait to see you alone, beautiful. Tonight?" My husband looked up from his papers, his steady grey eyes meeting mine. "What's on your mind, Lace?" I'd practiced this moment for weeks, ever since meeting Nico at that marketing conference downtown. The charming Spanish musician who gave city tours on weekends had awakened something in me that I'd convinced myself was missing from my marriage. Julian was stable, reliable, predictable, everything that suddenly felt suffocating instead of secure. "I've been thinking about taking a solo trip," I began, watching his expression carefully. "Maybe a week or 2, just to clear my head. Get some space to figure things out." Julian's fork paused halfway to his mouth. "Space? Lysandra, what are you talking about? Is everything okay?" The concern in his voice almost made me waver, but I pushed forward. "That's exactly what I mean. You immediately assume something's wrong just because I want a little independence. I feel like I can't breathe in this relationship anymore." "Mummy, where would you go?" Margo asked, looking up from her coloring book where she'd been drawing our family. 2 adults, 1 child, and a cat we didn't have. "Just somewhere fun, sweetheart. Mommy needs an adventure." Julian set down his fork, his engineer's mind already analyzing the situation. "Liz, this is coming out of nowhere. If you're unhappy, let's talk about it. We could plan a family vacation, or maybe you and I could go somewhere together." "See, this is exactly the problem," I snapped, my voice rising. "Everything has to be on your terms, your schedule, your comfort zone. When was the last time you did anything spontaneous? When did you last surprise me?" The hurt that flashed across his face made my stomach twist, but I was committed to this path now. Nico represented excitement, passion, the kind of romance I'd read about but never experienced. Julian represented safety and routine, admirable qualities that had somehow transformed into prison bars in my mind. "I surprise you," he said quietly. "Last month I brought you flowers for no reason. I planned that weekend trip to Sitges you loved." "Flowers from the grocery store, and a weekend an hour away," I scoffed. "Julian, I'm 32 years old. I got married young, had Margo young, started my career late because I was being the perfect wife and mother. Don't I deserve to feel alive?" Margo's coloring had stopped entirely now, her small face scrunched with confusion. "Are you not alive, Mummy?" Julian reached over and smoothed her hair. "Mummy's just feeling a little confused right now, sweetheart. Why don't you go get ready for school?" After Margo left the room, Julian turned back to me. "Lysandra, I love you. If you're feeling trapped or unhappy, let's work on it together. Marriage counseling, couples therapy, whatever you need. But running away alone isn't going to solve anything." "It's not running away," I protested, though his words stung because they hit too close to the truth. "It's taking time to rediscover who I am, outside of being Julian's wife and Margo's mother. Don't you want me to be happy?" "Of course I want you to be happy. But happiness doesn't come from geographic location, Lise. It comes from within, from the choices we make, from the relationships we nurture." His reasonable tone infuriated me. Why couldn't he just fight back? Why couldn't he be jealous or possessive, or give me a real reason to justify what I was planning? You're so logical about everything, I said, grabbing my purse and work bag. Sometimes I wonder if you have any real emotions at all. The words hit their mark. Julian's jaw tightened, and for a moment I saw genuine anger flash in his eyes before he controlled it. I have plenty of emotions, Lysandra. I just don't use them as an excuse to hurt the people I love. I stormed out without another word, my heart pounding with a mixture of guilt and exhilaration. As I waited for the elevator, my phone buzzed with Nico's message. Meet me at Cafe Central after work. I have something special planned. My fingers flew over the keyboard. Yes, can't wait. By the time I reached my office at the marketing firm downtown, I'd already rewritten the morning's conversation in my mind. Julian had been controlling, dismissive of my needs, unwilling to understand my desire for independence. I was a modern woman who deserved more than a life of domestic routine. You look flushed, said Carmen, my colleague, as I settled at my desk. Everything okay? Just had a fight with Julian, I said, enjoying the way her eyes lit up with interest. He doesn't want me to take a solo vacation, says I should be happy staying home playing house. Seriously, that's so controlling. You work full-time, you're a great mom. Why shouldn't you have some time for yourself? The validation felt like a drug. Exactly. I'm starting to think I married too young, before I really knew what I wanted. What I didn't mention was that what I wanted was currently tuning his guitar in a studio across town, probably thinking about our dinner plans while my husband sat in our kitchen, trying to explain to our daughter why Mommy had stormed out. My phone lit up with a text from Julian. I love you. We can talk more tonight when we're both calmer. I stared at the message for a long moment, my thumb hovering over the keyboard. Part of me wanted to respond, to take the olive branch he was offering. But Nico's face flashed in my mind, his easy smile, his stories about traveling through Europe with just a backpack and a guitar, his hands on mine as he taught me basic Spanish phrases. Instead of responding to Julian, I deleted the message and opened Instagram, scrolling through Nico's photos from last weekend's tour group. There he was, grinning beside the Sagrada Familia with a group of tourists, his dark eyes sparkling with the kind of joy that seemed to come so naturally to him. I double-tapped the photo and watched the little heart appear. Within minutes, he'd liked 3 of my recent posts in return. The small interaction sent a thrill through me that I hadn't felt in years. By lunchtime, I'd convinced myself that Julian's calm response to my outburst was proof that he didn't really care about losing me. A passionate man would have fought harder, would have demanded to know what was really going on. His reasonable approach felt like indifference. I spent my lunch break shopping for a new dress, something Nico would appreciate, something that would make me feel like the woman I used to be before marriage and motherhood had dulled my edges. When I returned to the office, there was a delivery waiting at my desk, a small bouquet of my favorite flowers, with a note in Julian's careful handwriting. I'm sorry we argued this morning. I want to understand what you need. Can we start over tonight? Jay. Carmen peered over my shoulder. Oh, that's sweet. Maybe he's not so bad after all. But instead of feeling touched, I felt trapped. The flowers were beautiful, the gesture thoughtful, but they represented everything I was trying to escape. Julian's predictable kindness, his attempts to smooth over conflict, his assumption that a romantic gesture could fix whatever was broken between us. I took a photo of the flowers and posted it on Instagram with the caption, "When your husband thinks flowers can solve everything, married life tasks needing space." The likes and comments started rolling in immediately, friends and acquaintances weighing in on my marriage, most of them supporting my desire for independence. The digital validation felt intoxicating. What I didn't notice was that Julian had liked the post too, probably thinking I was sharing something sweet about our relationship. The irony made my stomach turn, but I pushed the feeling away. As 5 o'clock approached, my excitement about seeing Nico overrode any lingering guilt about the flowers wilting on my desk or the husband who'd tried to make peace while I planned my evening with another man. I checked my reflection in the bathroom mirror, reapplied my lipstick, and headed out into the Barcelona evening, my phone already buzzing with a message from Nico. Table for two at our favorite place. Tonight's going to be special, beautiful. The space I'd asked for was finally within reach. I just hadn't considered that, once I stepped into it, I might not be able to find my way back. The rooftop bar overlooked the Gothic quarter, its string lights twinkling against the darkening sky, as I spotted Nico at a corner table. He stood when he saw me, that easy smile spreading across his face as he kissed both my cheeks in greeting. The simple gesture sent warmth racing through me, so different from Julian's careful, respectful affection. "You look incredible," Nico said, his English accented with just enough Spanish to make everything sound romantic. "That dress is perfect on you." I'd chosen it carefully, a flowing emerald number that Julian had never seen, bought with money from my personal account that he wouldn't track. The thought of my small deception thrilled me. "Thank you," I said, settling into the chair he held for me. "This place is amazing. Only the best for you." He poured wine from a bottle that was already waiting. "I ordered the Tempranillo you liked last time." Last time. We'd had 3 dinners together now, each one feeling more intimate than the last. What had started as innocent networking at the marketing conference had evolved into something I couldn't quite name but didn't want to stop. "So," Nico said, raising his glass, "to new adventures and beautiful women who deserve them." We clinked glasses, and I felt my phone buzz in my purse. Julian, probably wondering where I was. I'd left work without calling home, something I'd never done before in our 8 years of marriage. "You seem tense," Nico observed, his dark eyes studying my face. "Everything okay at home?" "Just the usual," I said, taking a larger sip of wine than I'd intended. "Julian doesn't understand my need for independence. He thinks marriage means we have to do everything together." "Ah, the typical husband problem." Nico nodded sympathetically. "They want to own you, not love you. There's a difference." His words felt like validation for every frustration I'd been harboring. "Exactly. I told him this morning I wanted to take a solo trip, and he immediately assumed something was wrong. Like the idea of me wanting my own experiences is threatening to him." "Because it is threatening," Nico said, leaning forward. "Men like him, they're afraid of women like you. You're passionate, intelligent, alive. He knows if you taste real freedom, you might not come back to his boring little world." My phone buzzed again, then again. "Popular tonight," Nico teased, but I caught a flicker of annoyance in his expression. "Sorry, let me just—" I pulled out my phone to find 3 messages from Julian. "Hey, when will you be home? Margo's asking for you." "I have dinner waiting. Should I put yours in the fridge?" "Starting to worry. Can you at least let me know you're safe?" The reasonable tone of his texts, even in his concern, irritated me. Why couldn't he be angry? Why couldn't he demand I come home immediately? His measured response felt like he didn't care enough to fight for me. I typed back quickly. "Out with work friends. Don't wait up." It wasn't technically a lie. Nico did work in marketing peripherally, giving tours to corporate groups. But the deception sat heavy in my stomach. "Work emergency?" Nico asked. "Just Julian being Julian," I said, putting my phone face down on the table. "Let's not talk about him. Tell me about your music." Nico's face lit up as he launched into stories about his band, their upcoming gigs, their dreams of touring Europe. His passion was infectious, so different from Julian's measured approach to his engineering career. Where Julian talked about stability and 5-year plans, Nico spoke about living in the moment and following your heart. "Life is too short to waste on people who don't appreciate your fire," he said, reaching across the table to touch my hand. "You have this light in your eyes when you talk about your dreams. Does your husband see that?" "I don't think Julian sees me at all anymore," I said, the wine making me more honest than I'd intended. "I'm just the wife, the mother, the woman who keeps his life organized." When was the last time he looked at me the way you're looking at me right now? Nico's thumb traced across my knuckles, and I didn't pull away. His loss, he murmured. A woman like you should be worshipped, not taken for granted. My phone lit up with an incoming call. Julian's name flashed on the screen, and I felt a stab of panic. If I answered, he'd hear the music, the voices, the obvious sounds of a restaurant. If I didn't, he'd worry more. I declined the call and immediately texted, "Can't talk, loud restaurant. Home later." "You know what I think?" Nico said, signaling the waiter for another bottle. "I think you should take that solo trip you mentioned. Come with me to Valencia next weekend. I'm doing a private tour for some art collectors. We could have our own adventure." The suggestion hung between us like a bridge I could either cross or burn. Valencia. A weekend away with Nico. The space I'd asked Julian for, filled with exactly the kind of excitement I'd been craving. "I couldn't," I said, but my voice lacked conviction. "Why not? You're a grown woman. You deserve to feel alive." My phone buzzed with a text from my sister Elin. "Julian called looking for you. Said you're not answering your phone. Everything okay?" The family network was activating, which meant Julian was genuinely worried. Part of me felt guilty, but a larger part felt annoyed. Why was everyone treating me like I couldn't have one evening to myself? I texted Elin back. "Everything's fine, just having dinner with colleagues. Julian worries too much." "Your family sounds very involved," Nico observed. "They think I belong to them," I said, draining my wine glass. "Like I'm not allowed to have a life outside their expectations." "That's exactly what I mean," Nico said. "You're living for everyone else instead of living for you. When was the last time you did something just because it made you happy?" I looked across the table at his handsome face, lit by candlelight and string lights, and realized the answer was sitting right in front of me. These dinners with Nico were the only times I'd felt truly happy in months. Not content, not satisfied, but genuinely alive and excited about life. "You're right," I said, feeling reckless and free. "I spend so much time being what everyone else needs me to be. Maybe it's time to figure out what I need." "Now you're talking," Nico grinned, raising his glass again, to Lysandra, finally putting herself first. We drank to that, and I felt something shift inside me, the guilt I'd been carrying about these dinners, about the attraction I felt for Nico, about the lies I was telling Julian. It all seemed suddenly justified. I was reclaiming my life, my autonomy, my right to happiness. "Take a photo with me," Nico said, pulling out his phone. "I want to remember this moment." Before I could object, he'd moved his chair closer to mine, his arm around my shoulders as he held the camera up. "Smile, beautiful." The flash went off, capturing us laughing together, his face close to mine, my hand resting on his chest. It looked intimate, romantic, exactly what it was becoming. "Post it," I said impulsively. "Tag me." "Are you sure? What about your husband?" "What about him? I'm allowed to have friends." Nico's fingers flew over his phone, and within minutes the photo was live on Instagram with the caption, "Perfect evening with an amazing woman. Some people know how to live. Barcelona, Chobber living life. Also a beautiful company." My phone started buzzing immediately with notifications, likes, comments, messages. The attention felt intoxicating, validating my choice to step outside my carefully constructed life. Among the notifications, I saw Julian had viewed the photo. He'd seen it, but hadn't liked it or commented. His digital silence felt like judgment, like disapproval of my happiness. "He saw it," I told Nico, showing him my phone. "And, you're not doing anything wrong. You're having dinner with a friend." "Exactly," I said, though we both knew it was more than that. The chemistry between us was obvious in the photo, the intimacy unmistakable. But I was tired of living my life according to other people's comfort levels. "So, Valencia?" Nico asked again, his hand finding mine across the table. "One weekend. Just us, exploring the city, no schedules, no expectations. Pure freedom. I looked at our intertwined fingers, at his hopeful face, at the photo on Instagram that had already garnered dozens of likes from people who thought I looked happy, alive, radiant. Yes, I said before I could change my mind. Let's do it. Nico's smile could have powered the entire city. You won't regret this, Lysandra. I'm going to show you what it feels like to really live. As we left the restaurant hours later, my phone showed 17 missed calls from Julian and a string of increasingly worried texts. The last one, sent just 10 minutes ago, simply said, "I love you. Please just let me know you're okay." Standing on the sidewalk with Nico's arm around my waist, looking up at the stars visible above the city lights, I felt more alive than I had in years. Julian's worry felt distant, irrelevant to this moment of pure possibility. I typed back quickly, "I'm fine, see you at home." But as Nico kissed my cheek goodbye and I watched him walk away, I wondered if home was still where I belonged, or if I was finally brave enough to build something new. The marketing office buzzed with Monday morning energy, but I felt like I was floating above it all, still high from my weekend plans with Nico. Valencia was just 5 days away, and every time I thought about it, my stomach fluttered with anticipation and terror in equal measure. "You're glowing," Carmen observed as I settled at my desk with my coffee. "Good weekend?" "The best," I said, unable to suppress my smile. "I'm finally doing something just for me." I'd spent Sunday deflecting Julian's careful questions about my Friday night out, giving vague answers about work colleagues and networking events. He'd seemed to accept my explanations, but I'd caught him watching me with a puzzled expression, like he was trying to solve an equation that didn't balance. My phone buzzed with a message from Nico. "Good morning, beautiful. Can't stop thinking about Valencia." The emoji sent a thrill through me. Julian never used emojis, never sent flirtatious messages. His texts were practical, informative. Picking up Margo at 3, or dinner at 7. Nico's messages made me feel desired, exciting, worth pursuing. I was typing a response when my work phone rang. "Lysandra Vale, how can I help you?" "Mrs. Vale, this is Anna from Margo's school. We need you to come in for a meeting about Margo's behavior." My stomach dropped. "What kind of behavior? Is she hurt?" "She's fine physically, but she's been acting out in class, refusing to participate, crying at random times. Her teacher is concerned there might be something going on at home." I closed my eyes, guilt washing over me. I'd been so focused on my own happiness that I'd barely noticed Margo's mood lately. "I can be there in an hour." "Actually, we called your husband first since he's listed as the primary contact. He's already here." Of course he was. Reliable Julian, dropping everything to handle the crisis while I sat at my desk planning my romantic getaway. "I'll be right there," I said, grabbing my keys. The drive to Margo's school gave me time to construct my defense. Children were resilient. A little tension at home was normal. Julian was probably overreacting, turning a minor behavioral issue into a major crisis, because that's what he did. Magnified problems instead of letting them resolve naturally. I found Julian in the principal's office, his face grave as he listened to Mrs. Rodriguez, Margo's teacher. He looked up when I entered, and I saw something I'd never seen before in his eyes. Disappointment. "Mrs. Vale, thank you for coming," Mrs. Rodriguez said. "I was just explaining to your husband that Margo has been struggling lately. She drew this picture in art class yesterday." She handed me a piece of construction paper covered in Margo's careful 6-year-old artwork. It showed our family. But we were all standing in separate boxes, far apart from each other. In the corner, she'd drawn what looked like a storm cloud over the house. She told the class that her family is broken, Mrs. Rodriguez continued gently. When I asked her what that meant, she said Mommy and Daddy don't talk anymore, and Mommy is always on her phone. The words hit me like a physical blow. I looked at Julian, expecting him to jump to my defense, to explain that we were just going through a rough patch. Instead, He was staring at the drawing with an expression of profound sadness. "We've been having some communication issues," I said carefully, "but nothing that affects Margo." "Children are very perceptive," Mrs. Rodriguez said. "They pick up on tension even when adults think they're hiding it well. Margo also mentioned that you've been coming home very late and that she misses having dinner with both parents." I felt heat rise in my cheeks. "I've had some work obligations lately. That's temporary." Julian finally spoke, his voice quiet but steady. "Mrs. Rodriguez, thank you for bringing this to our attention. Lysandra and I will discuss this at home and make sure Margo knows she's loved and secure." "That's all we ask," the teacher said. "Margo is a wonderful child. She just needs consistency and reassurance right now." The drive home was silent, Margo chattering in the back seat about her day, while Julian and I sat in our separate bubbles of tension. I kept glancing at him, waiting for the lecture, the accusations, the anger I deserved. But he just drove, his hand steady on the wheel, his face unreadable. It wasn't until Margo was settled with her homework that Julian finally approached me in the kitchen. "We need to talk," he said simply. "If this is about the school meeting, I think they're overreacting. Kids go through phases." "Lysandra," his voice was gentle but firm, "our daughter thinks our family is broken. She's acting out at school because she feels insecure at home. This isn't a phase, this is a consequence." "A consequence of what?" I snapped, though I knew exactly what he meant. "Of whatever's been going on with you lately. The late nights, the distraction, the way you've been pulling away from us, from me." I wanted to deny it, to deflect and blame him for being paranoid. But looking at him standing there, my husband of 8 years, the father of my child, the man who'd never given me a reason to doubt his love, I felt the weight of my deception settling on my shoulders. "I told you I needed space," I said weakly. "Space doesn't mean disappearing from your family's life. Space doesn't mean making our daughter feel abandoned." "I haven't abandoned anyone." The words came out sharper than I'd intended. "I'm still here, still working, still taking care of everything I always take care of." "Are you?" Julian pulled out his phone and showed me Margot's recent drawings from her art folder. "Look at these, Lys. Really look at them." The progression was heartbreaking. 3 weeks ago, Margo had drawn our family holding hands under a rainbow. 2 weeks ago, we were still together, but smaller, less detailed. Last week, we were in separate rooms of the house. Yesterday, we were in separate boxes entirely. "She's 6 years old," Julian continued, his voice thick with emotion. "She shouldn't have to worry about whether her parents love each other. She shouldn't have to wonder why Mommy doesn't want to be home anymore." "That's not," I started, then stopped. Because it was true. I hadn't wanted to be home. Home felt suffocating, routine, empty of the excitement I'd found with Nico. "I know something's going on," Julian said quietly. "I've known for weeks. The question is whether you're going to tell me what it is, or if you're going to keep pretending that lying to your family is somehow justified." My phone chose that moment to buzz with a text from Nico. "Missing you already. Can't wait for our weekend escape." Julian's eyes flicked to my phone, and I saw him register my flinch, the way I quickly turned the screen face down. "I see," he said, his voice going very quiet. "Julian, it's not what you think." "What do I think, Lysandra?" "I don't know. You never tell me what you're thinking. You just watch and analyze and make your calm little observations, like you're studying a problem to solve." "Maybe because I've been hoping I was wrong," he said. "Maybe because I've been giving you the benefit of the doubt, even when the evidence suggested I shouldn't." Evidence. The word sent a chill through me. What evidence? The late nights that don't match your work schedule. The Instagram photos with men I don't recognize. The way you flinch when I touch you. The way you've been picking fights over things that never bothered you before. He'd been paying attention. All this time, I'd thought he was oblivious, distracted by his work and his routines, but he'd been watching, cataloguing, trying to understand what was happening to his wife. "I need some air," I said, heading for the balcony. "Running away again," Julian called after me, but not unkindly. I stood outside in the cool evening air, my hands shaking as I tried to process what had just happened. Julian knew, maybe not the details, but he knew I was lying, knew I was pulling away, knew our marriage was in trouble. My phone buzzed again. Another message from Nico. "Everything okay? You seem quiet today." I stared at the screen, torn between two worlds. In one, Julian was probably sitting at our kitchen table, looking at our daughter's heartbreaking drawings and trying to figure out how to save his family. In the other, Nico was planning our romantic weekend, promising me adventure and passion and freedom from all this complicated emotional responsibility. I typed back to Nico. "Just dealing with family drama. Still on for Valencia?" "Absolutely. You need this break more than ever. I'll take care of everything." When I went back inside, Julian was helping Margo with her math homework, his voice patient and encouraging as he explained fractions. They looked so peaceful together, so right. For a moment, I felt a stab of longing for the simple happiness I was about to throw away. "Mommy," Margo called when she saw me. "Daddy's helping me with my homework. Do you want to help too?" "Maybe later, sweetheart. Mommy has some work to finish." I saw Julian's jaw tighten slightly, but he didn't say anything. Just continued helping our daughter while I retreated to my laptop, ostensibly to work, but really to research Valencia hotels and restaurants, where Nico and I might go. Later that night, as Julian and I lay in our bed with careful space between us, he spoke into the darkness. "I love you, Lysandra. Whatever's going on, whatever's happened, I love you and I want to fix this." I pretended to be asleep, but his words echoed in my mind long after his breathing evened out. He loved me. He wanted to fix us. But I was already planning to leave town with another man in 4 days. The space between love and betrayal, I was learning, was smaller than I'd ever imagined. Friday morning arrived with unseasonable rain, as if the weather was reflecting the storm brewing in my chest. I stood in our bedroom, packing a small overnight bag while Julian showered, each item I folded, feeling like another step away from the life I'd built. "Weekend conference in Madrid," I'd told him the night before, the lie sliding off my tongue with practiced ease. Last-minute invitation from the agency. Great networking opportunity. Julian had nodded, asked practical questions about my travel arrangements, kissed my forehead, and wished me luck. His trust felt like a weight I could barely carry. Margo appeared in the doorway, clutching her stuffed elephant. "Why do you have to go away, Mommy?" "It's just for work, baby. I'll be back Sunday night." "But you're always going somewhere now," she said, her bottom lip trembling. "Don't you like being home with me and Daddy anymore?" The question hit me like a physical blow. I knelt down and pulled her into a hug, breathing in her familiar scent of strawberry shampoo and childhood innocence. "Of course I love being with you," I said, the words feeling both true and false simultaneously. "Mummy just has to work sometimes." "Daddy works, but he doesn't go away." From the mouths of babes. Julian's engineering job kept him in Barcelona, home for dinner most nights, present for bedtime stories and weekend adventures. My marketing work had never required overnight travel before, until I'd started creating reasons to be away. "I'll bring you something special from Madrid," I promised, hating myself for the lie. Julian emerged from the bathroom, toweling his hair, and I saw him take in the scene. Our daughter clinging to me, my suitcase on the bed, the tension that had become our new normal. "Have a safe trip," he said quietly. "Text me when you arrive." I nodded, avoiding his eyes. If I looked at him directly, he might see the truth written on my face. An hour later, I was sitting in Valencia's train station cafe, my heart racing as I waited for Nico. The journey from Barcelona had given me too much time to think, to second-guess, to imagine Julian helping Margo with her breakfast while I betrayed everything they trusted me to be. "There's my beautiful traveller." Nico's voice came from behind me, warm and excited. He kissed both my cheeks, his hands lingering on my shoulders, Ready for an adventure? Looking at him, handsome, carefree, representing everything spontaneous and exciting, I pushed down my guilt and forced a smile. Ready. The hotel he'd chosen was boutique and romantic, with a view of the City of Arts and Sciences. As we checked in, the desk clerk assumed we were married, addressing us as Señor and Señora Ferrer. Nico didn't correct him, and neither did I. 2 keys? The clerk asked. Just one, Nico said smoothly, his hand finding mine. We won't be spending much time in the room anyway. The implications hung in the air between us as we rode the elevator up to the 7th floor. This weekend was going to be about more than dinner and flirtation. We both knew it. The room was beautiful. Floor-to-ceiling windows, a king-sized bed with crisp white linens, champagne chilling in an ice bucket. You thought of everything, I said, trying to keep my voice light despite the nervousness churning in my stomach. I wanted this to be perfect for you, Nico said, opening the champagne with a practiced pop. You deserve to be treated like a queen. He handed me a glass, and we stood at the window looking out at the city sprawling below us. Valencia was beautiful, vibrant, alive with possibility. Everything Barcelona had started to feel like it wasn't. To new beginnings, Nico said, raising his glass. To new beginnings, I echoed, though the words felt strange on my tongue. My phone buzzed with a text from Julian. Hope you arrive safely. Margo and I are making pizza for dinner. She insists on extra cheese. Love you. The message was accompanied by a photo of our daughter, flower in her hair, grinning as she stretched pizza dough with Julian's help. They looked happy, complete, like they didn't need me to make their evening perfect. Work? Nico asked, noticing my distraction. Family, I said, putting the phone away. But I'm here now, with you. That's right, he said, moving closer. You're here with me. No responsibilities, no expectations, no one telling you what you should or shouldn't do. His words were meant to be liberating, but they felt hollow. The responsibilities I'd left behind weren't chains, they were connections, commitments I'd made to people who loved me. But I was here now, committed to this path, and turning back felt impossible. We spent the afternoon exploring the city, visiting the central market, walking through the old town, taking photos that Nico immediately posted to Instagram. In every picture, we looked like a couple in love, tourists enjoying a romantic getaway. Your followers are going to be so jealous, Nico said, showing me the likes and comments accumulating on our photos. I scrolled through the responses, seeing friends from Barcelona commenting with heart-eye emojis and so cute, and living your best life. The validation felt good, but underneath it was a growing anxiety about who else might be seeing these posts. Maybe we shouldn't post so many, I said. People might get the wrong idea. What's the wrong idea? Nico asked, his arm tightening around my waist. That you're happy? That you're finally living for yourself instead of everyone else? That evening, over dinner at a rooftop restaurant overlooking the Mediterranean, Nico reached across the table and took my hand. I have a confession, he said, his dark eyes serious. I'm falling for you, Lysandra. Hard. My breath caught. This was the moment I'd been building toward for weeks. The validation I'd been seeking. Proof that I was still desirable, still worth pursuing. Nico, I know it's complicated, he continued. I know you have a life in Barcelona, obligations, but what we have is special. You feel it too, don't you? I did feel it, the excitement, the passion, the intoxicating rush of being wanted so intensely. But I also felt the weight of Margo's drawing, Julian's patient love, the family I was systematically destroying with every choice I made. Yes, I whispered, because it was easier than explaining the war raging inside me. Nico smiled, brought my hand to his lips, kissed my knuckles gently. Then let's not waste any more time pretending this is just friendship. Back in the hotel room, as Nico dimmed the lights and put on soft music, my phone rang. Julian's name flashed on the screen. I should take this, I said, my heart pounding. Now? Nico looked disappointed. Can't it wait? It might be about Margo. I answered on the fourth ring, stepping onto the small balcony for privacy. Hey, Julian's voice was warm, familiar, everything I was about to betray. How's the conference? It's good, informative. That's great. Listen, I'm sorry to bother you, but Margo's running a fever. Nothing serious, but she's asking for you. Could you maybe FaceTime with her before bed? My daughter was sick, wanting her mother, and I was standing on a hotel balcony, preparing to sleep with another man. Of course, I said, my voice cracking slightly. Give me 5 minutes. When I came back inside, Nico was lying on the bed, his shirt unbuttoned, an expectant look on his face. Everything okay? Margo's sick. I need to video call her. Can't it wait until tomorrow? She has her father. The casual dismissal of my daughter's need for me was like a slap. Julian would never suggest that his plans were more important than Margo's well-being. She's 6 years old and she's sick, I said firmly. It'll just take a few minutes. Nico's expression darkened slightly, but he nodded. Of course, family first. But his tone suggested he didn't really mean it. I called Julian back, and Margo's flushed face appeared on my screen, her hair messy from fever, her eyes bright with illness and longing. Mommy, I don't feel good. I know, baby. Daddy told me. Are you taking your medicine? Yes, but I want you to come home. Can you come home now? Behind her, I could see Julian in the background, bringing her a glass of water, adjusting her pillows, being the parent who was actually there when she needed him. I can't come home tonight, sweetheart, but I'll be back tomorrow evening. Daddy's taking good care of you, isn't he? Yes, but I want you too. The simple honesty of it broke my heart. She wanted both her parents, the security of her family unit, the comfort of knowing she was the priority. I love you so much, I said, tears threatening. Get some sleep and you'll feel better in the morning. Love you too, Mummy. Come home soon. The call ended, and I sat staring at the black screen, my daughter's flushed face burned into my memory. She seems sweet, Nico said from the bed, but his voice had an edge of impatience. She is, I said, not moving from the chair. So, where were we? I looked at him lying there, waiting for me to join him, to complete this betrayal I'd been building toward for weeks. He was handsome, charming, everything I'd thought I wanted. But in this moment, all I could think about was my sick daughter asking me to come home, and my husband caring for her alone while I pursued my selfish desires. I can't do this, I said quietly. What? I can't do this, Nico. I need to go home. His face went through several expressions: confusion, disappointment, anger. Are you serious? We're finally here, finally free to be together, and you're going to let a little kid's sniffles ruin everything. The way he said little kid, dismissive, annoyed, told me everything I needed to know about who Nico really was when the charm wore off. That little kid is my daughter, I said, standing up, and she needs me. She has her father. You said so yourself. I'm her mother. And what about what you need? What about your happiness? You've been miserable in that marriage, trapped in that life. This is your chance to break free. But looking at him now, I realized I hadn't been trapped by my marriage. I'd been trapped by my own restlessness, my inability to appreciate what I had, my need for constant validation and excitement. I'm going back to Barcelona, I said, reaching for my suitcase. Tonight? Lysandra, be reasonable. It's late. The trains aren't running. Stay the night. We'll talk about this in the morning. There's nothing to talk about. This was a mistake. Nico sat up, his charm completely gone now. You're making a huge mistake. You think your husband's going to welcome you back with open arms? You think he doesn't know what you've been doing? His words sent a chill through me, but I kept packing. What do you mean? I mean, he's not as clueless as you think. Men always know, Lysandra. They just choose when to act on it. I stopped packing, my hands frozen over my clothes. You don't know what you're talking about. Don't I? You think all those late nights and secret dinners went unnoticed? You think he hasn't seen our photos together? Wake up. Your marriage is already over. The only question is whether you're going to grab happiness while you can, or go crawling back to play house with a man who's probably already planning his exit strategy. The words hit me like physical blows, but I forced myself to keep packing. You're wrong. Am I? Then why are you here with me instead of home with them? I had no answer for that. No good answer, anyway. 20 minutes later, I was in a taxi heading back to the train station, leaving Nico in the hotel room with his wounded pride and his accusations. The last train to Barcelona was at midnight. I could be home by 3 a.m, back where I belonged. But as the Spanish countryside rushed past the train windows, Nico's words echoed in my mind. What if Julian did know? What if I was rushing home to a confrontation instead of a reconciliation? What if I'd already destroyed everything I was trying so desperately to save?